Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. We are back again to bring you the Disc Priest update for 7.1.5, all the information and just kind of my thoughts on where Discipline's heading and what's really going on. So, getting into it, I think Discipline actually is going to be fantastic in Nighthold. One of the biggest features is that their legendaries are getting a little bit better. The power level of them is getting just slightly better with the trinket that's going to be coming in. The step bonuses are going to be super fantastic. They're going to be exceptional for Discipline. And generally, the gear that you're going to be getting from Nighthold is going to be extremely, extremely good. There's going to be a lot more haste on things, and the relics are superb. Going into it really quick, some of just the basic changes and stuff like that in terms of talents and specializations. Masochism, of course, is just getting some added damage reduction. Nothing too crazy here. And it's probably not going to really be taken over feathers, but they're trying to make the damage reduction stuff a little bit more palpable for priests, because we've been begging for cooldowns forever. But the weird thing about the changes, though, is the Shadow Covenant talent change. Of course, they're scaling down how much is healing and how much the absorption shell that you have to heal through is, and the cast time's going from 1.5 seconds to instant cast, and it doesn't replace Radiance anymore. So the weirdest thing is just I don't really know what they're trying to accomplish here. Shadow Covenant just never really had a place in Alpha or Beta or ever, and this doesn't really change much about how the spell works and the raw effect of it, and just kind of creates more things to heal. So I still don't really see this being taken seriously, and I don't really know when this would ever really have a strong effect. So it's kind of cruddy talent, and wish that they would just kind of redesign that completely and start from scratch. Shining Force, of course, has a cooldown reduction. Not that big of a deal. I guess it's nice for questing and stuff like that, but for raiding, nothing big. And then Shadow Pain gets a bit of a buff, which is more of a big deal for Shadow Priests. But of course, because we're probably going to be taking Purge the Wicked more often than not in raids. So pretty basic stuff there. In terms of the gear and the legendaries that are going to be coming out on Tuesday, once the patch drops, we're getting Velen's Future Sight, which is going to be very, very nice to get. Overall has pretty much all the stats on it, and has the on-use effect of increasing all your healing by 15%, and half of the overhealing is redistributed to 3 nearby allies for 10 seconds, minute 15-second cooldown. So the cooldown and the duration are both very, very nice. You can have this off cooldown very, very often. You'll probably have it for almost all of your ramp up phases, and you're having it for just enough of the duration. Like, the duration is just long enough for you to get off, either your Light's Wrath or your Penance, and then some resulting hots or dots and stuff like that to be taking. So it's very, very good. It is a very, very nice trinket, and it's kind of the start of actually having some decent effects, some big effects, some impactful effects for Discipline legendaries, because you really haven't seen much from the legendaries besides, just some solid, like, everything seemed very solid. Everything is like, oh, well, I'll find some value out of that, but it's nothing crazy. Whereas Holy Priest, you get an auto res, you get your own battle res, you get your own control over it. Like, that's a crazy impact, but Discipline really hasn't seen it. It's been pretty tame for Disc legendaries, so very nice that this is getting added to the list. Unfortunately, we're getting a pretty crappy legendary with Calm Zeraf, which is a helm piece. Using Light's Wrath reduces the mana cost of your damaging spells by 75% for 1 second, increasing by 1 second per ally affected by atonement. So you get 12, 13 atonements out, use Light's Wrath, and you get 12, 13 seconds or whatever of significantly reduced cost for your damaging spells. Well, you're going to get your penance off, and then maybe a smite or something like that, and then refresh your dots, but that's about it. And so the effect of it is not really that big of a deal, because you're not going to be casting tons and tons of damaging spells that are very, very expensive, and most of the the need for mana cost reduction is before you Light's Wrath. As you're casting multiple powered radiances, and maybe you don't have an Innervate, And so it just is weird. It's very weird that they would have this effect, and I mean, I guess it'll have some value, and it'll kind of continue the disc trend of it'll have some kind of value, but nothing insane. The big redeeming factor of it is that it has a lot of haste on it, and many of the disc legendaries just didn't have a lot of haste on it, or very few of them did. So in terms of just giving you more haste, it's a plus, but the effect is just kind of a fail. So unfortunately. But what is not a fail is some of the gear that you're going to be getting from Nighthold. So in terms of just starting off with the Nighthold relics, the relics are exceptional. They're going to be super, super nice to get. For a Holy Relic, you're going to be having Confession, which is really easy to get. It'll be off Tichondrius. Getting double Confession relics in the Holy slot will be amazing, and they'll be much, much easier to get than previously with other raids. In terms of your Shadow Relics, you kind of have two options. You have the option off of Gul'dan, which is going to be the highest possible item level, at least from a baseline perspective, before Warforged Titanforge, which will be very, very high. It'll drop off Gul'dan, and it'll be the Edge of Dark and Light. But you also will have the opportunity to get another Confession relic off of Chromatic Anomaly. So it'll be lower item level at the same level of difficulty, but they're both still going to be very, very strong effects. So you really can't go wrong. So Gul'dan, Chromatic Anomaly, and Tichondrius are going to drop exceptional relics for us, and just really just ramp up the damage and ramp up a lot of the burst that will be able to be put out. So it'll be super, super nice. In terms of trinkets, trinkets are really just not going to be that great at all, unfortunately. You're going to start off with the Firmo Paradox. Your healing spells have a chance to cause your next direct healing spell to restore X mana instead of costing mana. Unfortunately, that direct healing spell is Shadow Mend, so we're not really going to be using this, unfortunately. When I saw the direct healing spell, I was like, oh my god, if that's Powered Radiance, that'll be awesome. But it's only for Shadow Mend for Discipline Priests. It's only for heal for like Holy Priests, so it's also going to be bad for Holy as well. So it's very, very sad. This trinket looked like it had a lot of potential, but it's just going to be very crappy. You're not going to really see much of it at all, if you can help it. The other three trinkets, of course, are going to have the problem of not being mana regen trinkets, and Discipline's always going to be tied to mana regen unless you're in very, very short fights or you have a billion innervates or something lovely like that. So Alluriel's Mirror, baseline haste with a healing effect. The healing effect has some limitations in that the burst effect with nearby allies will not always hit a good amount of allies. It's kind of like Horn of Cenarius, where there are some limitations to the range. And spread fights can kind of mess that up as well. Perfectly Preserved Cake is just kind of a joke. I don't really know who made this one, but I would not give them extra cookies at the parties. Just the feast giving you absorbs. I guess if Discipline Priests are that desperate for absorbs, you have this, but nah, just never gonna really see any kind of play. Atreus' Celestial Map, however, is pretty decent. Again, it's not a mana regen trinket, so that has a problem. But 2 procs per minute, you're able to get Mastery, Haste, or Critical Strike, and it has Raw Intellect. The only problem is that you're not always going to get Haste, unless you're extremely lucky. But of the 4, it is the one that will probably have the most value for Discipline. So, unfortunately. But that is kind of the low point of Nighthold, because the majority of the gear, especially the set bonuses, are going to have tons and tons of haste on it. And if we're going into set bonuses, the set bonuses are actually crazy good. They're actually super, super nice. Your 2 set, your healing on targets affected by Powered Shield is increased by 20%. If you're using Powered Shield on tanks, for example, the Powered Shield will just probably be consumed almost immediately. But if you're using Powered Shield on basically anybody else, you'll get a really nice boost in your spot healing. So your healing that you need to do immediately, that's kind of one of the weaknesses of Discipline, is that they're not able to put a lot of single target healing on an individual in a raid environment. In Mythic Plus, however, you're using lots of Shadow Men when you're having Grace or something like that, so you're able to top people off pretty well with that. But in raids, you don't always have that. So this kind of helps alleviate that, and that kind of shores up a bit of a weak spot. It's not always going to be great for tanks because, like I said, the Powered Shield is going to get consumed very quickly. But when you're using Rapture, it can be very, very powerful for raid healing. Speaking of Rapture, 4 set during Rapture, Atonement applied by Powered Shield lasts 6 additional seconds. We saw how big of an effect the Contrition buff was. It was just an extra second buff, and then everyone starts taking Contrition like crazy. This set bonus is going to be absolutely absurd, and is probably be one of the best set bonuses that any healers are getting this tier. So super nice, and it greatly increases the value of the artifact trait Doomsayer, but it's still not as good as the damage artifact traits, of course. But it'd be very nice to have so much more atone duration, and it'll kind of set you up for a position where you will be able to Rapture. Say if you want to be blanketing almost the entire raid, you'll be able to start off with a Rapture, and those atonements, those usually if you Rapture first and then you're trying to ramp up and then you're trying to Light's Wrath or something like that, the first powered shields will be falling off. So these are going to be lasting so much longer now, and they'll give you so much more duration, and it'll be so nice. You'll be able to cover much more of the raid now, and more coverage, more healing, more damage, all very nice. So very exceptional. And the surprise to me was that Discipline really didn't receive any kind of nerfs. So what we're kind of getting is we're going to get no nerfs, lots of buffs, lots of better gear in general from the raid bosses. So huge wins. I think Discipline's really going to be pushing it really hard. They're really going to be kicking some butt come Nighthold. And not only from the max perspective, the top parsers and stuff like that, but also just the average Joes in most raiding guilds. They're going to be having a lot more gear opportunities. Trinkets, for example, like amalgams, are only going to get better with a higher item level. Of course, you're going to get promises, which you can upgrade, where you can get 2 more Obliterum in there. So that'll be even more mana regen or mana savings for you. And overall, it'll be very nice. So I'm looking forward to it. Discipline is looking up. And the more I see of Discipline in Nighthold, I think the more I'm going to like it. So I hope you guys enjoy the video and everything like that. I hope you guys give Dispriest a try and see what it can do. Because I think Nighthold will really impress a lot of people. I don't think that Discipline will overtake Holy Priest in popularity in Nighthold, but I think the gap will really shorten a lot. I think a lot of people will give Discipline a shot, and I think it'll be very powerful. So I would not be shocked to see some nerfs midway through, but hopefully not. So hope you all enjoy the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with everybody, and I'll catch you all next time.